Hey guys, today we're going to create a searchable table view with Swifty JSON. So let's first start off by creating a project, a single view application project, and naming the project Spreeby Currency Picker Example. Okay, let's go. Let's create the project. Exciting times. Okay, it's going. There's a, okay. Everything seems to be in order. Everything is selected, automatically managed signing, that sort of thing. So the reason we're creating a Swifty JSON thing is to have JSON as a data source of the table view. So let's go. Let's create a secondary view controller that we're going to segue to. That's the entry point view controller. So the idea is that we create a button and take the button and use it to segue to the secondary view controller, pick a currency, go back again with the currency picked as a button's text. So let's sort of modify this button, center it, give it some color. Okay. I think we should, okay, let's give it a 17 text size. Color, let's give it a red color. A red background, that is. A red background. Okay, where's the red background? Oh. Okay. There you go. Red background. White foreground color. White text. So let's put in the constraints. And give it a fixed height and center it vertically. Okay, that's looking good. That's looking very good. Okay, it can't be a view controller. It has to be a table view controller. Let's put in a table view controller and then create a segue to the table view controller from the button. There we go. Aces. So now that we've created a segue, we want to create a segue identifier to identify any type of movement in the application. Transitions, that sort of thing. Transitions from one view controller to another. So now let's embed the view controller, the table view controller, in a navigation controller. I do this essentially to help with the bar button items. It helps to create space for bar button items. That's what I usually do in my projects. So now let's highlight the prototype cell, the table view cell. And what we want to do is to create a view, your generic title, subtitle type of view. So let's give that an identifier called currency cell, and then do the subtitle thing. Okay, select that. Okay, style, subtitle. So what's going to happen in this situation is that you're going to have a currency name as the title and the subtitle showing the currency symbol. Let's give them both a blue color. There we go. Okay, that's done. So let's put in the bar button item now. It's going to be your typical back button. So the idea is that you segue to this table view controller. You have a back button that takes you back to the thing again, to the main view controller. And essentially nothing will have happened, no selection will have happened, so no changes in this button, this red button in the main view controller. That's what it all looks like. So now let's create a new file for the table view we just created. Let's call it the currency list table view. Okay? So remember, guys, we need this class to implement everything that we're going to do in the table view, the search, the getting data from wherever it is we're getting data. In this case, we're going to get the data from a JSON file, so we need to implement this class and assign it to this table view. First, let's create an action for this back button. Yeah, okay. You know, I was never really good at this part of the split view, but you know. Okay, so we're going to create a segue from the back button to that. Let's. Okay. We haven't assigned the currency list class to the table view. Let's click on the table view and then assign it. So it should be able to create an outlet now. Let's do that again. There we go. Boom. Back bar button item clicked. Tapped, not clicked. Sorry guys, I'm that guy who started computers back in 1995. Okay. So let's implement that. But basically what we want to do is to dismiss the view controller. So that's a pretty straightforward thing. Okay, let's remove that, hide that. Okay, you go from the button to that view controller, and then you click back and goes back again. It's pretty straightforward. So let's implement that. So essentially we'll be dismissing this view controller, which will be the table view controller. So let's run that and see what it looks like. iPhone 7 Plus. There we go, the red button. Tap. View controller. Table view controller. Back again. It's looking good. So it's important to understand that in this application that we're building, our data source is local. That is a JSON file. But the applications of this search can be for internet-based products as well. which is typically what you find in search for bigger applications. So let's create an empty file, a JSON file, an empty file, a JSON file that's going to contain currency JSON data. Let's call it currencies.json. And let's try to populate it with currency data. Let's put it there in alphabetical order. And now let's go find a file containing currencies. Here's one on GitHub. I've been here before, so which is why I can easily find the data. So I'm going to copy all of this data, copy it and paste it into our file. Okay, copy, paste. So let me format that at the end. Boom, because I'm a formatting Nazi. Okay. Okay, that's that. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna get Swifty JSON. Swifty JSON is there's a GitHub project. It essentially helps you deal with your JSON data. So a better way to deal with JSON data in Swift. You can create a JSON data structure, and you can parse JSON with this project. So let's download it, and we downloaded it. So we're gonna put it in our project. Okay. Okay, boom. There you go. Unzip. So all we need is the source file, the Swifty JSON class. So we're going to take that Swifty JSON class, which is, of course, in the Swift programming language, and drag it into our project as if it was just another file. Boom. So that's the JSON data, and that's the Swifty JSON. So guys, I'm gonna put all of this stuff on GitHub, and you can find it there. I'll put the link in the description as well. Okay, let's go back to the main storyboard. Let's move that out the way. Go to split view. View control. So we're going to create outlets. An outlet for this view controller. An outlet for the currency button. We call this the currency button because after the selection in the table view, the label on the button is gonna change. It's gonna change from what is currently button to the name of the currency. So now let's do a prepare for segue thing. Let's implement prepare for segue. First of all, let's look at what we call the identifier of the segue. So it's go to currency page. So we're going to use that to identify the segue in the prepare for segue function. Okay. Segue identifier. Go to currency page. Since we embedded the table view inside in navigation controller, we have to get that navigator first. And then our table view should be the first item of the navigation in the navigation controller. So that's the top view controller. There we go. Okay, so what's happening here, guys, is very important. We're going to be passing this current view controller to the currency list view controller, currency list table view controller. And what we want, of course, is to get the button variable that we're going to change. So let's clear this out in the currency list table view controller. And that stuff in the view did load as well. All of it. Okay. What else? Okay. So we need to remember that there's a search bar inside the table view controller. So we're gonna put in a search controller inside. How do I explain this? There's going to be a search controller that's going to be looking at the currency JSON data. Okay? And then we're going to create a JSON data structure based on the currency file. So that based on the currency.json that we have in our application. Okay? Bundle main.path looks within the application for the currency file. So we type in currency and its data type, which is JSON. Now what's happening now is that we're creating a JSON optional that's going to store all the currencies that have been parsed from the JSON data file. The currency data file, that is. And then you have filtered currencies. The filtered currencies, let's store them in a JSON array. The filtered currencies are essentially the currencies that are stored based on what the user types. So you type J, there's a filter. A, there's a filter. You type in U, there's a filter. S, it essentially starts to narrow the search results. Okay. Now let's create a variable for the origin table view. We can do this because for this particular example, because there isn't a lot of data being passed, but this is not the way to pass data. In situations where you have lots of data, I would encourage you to use I'll remember, there's a way to pass data that doesn't use segues. But in this situation, we're going to use a segue to pass the button to this view controller. Now, let's color the application, at least the navigation part of the application, with a color that a light blue color that I like to use in my applications and the products that I've created. And of course, the alpha will be 1. So we're going to assign this color to our navigation bar, that is. Why did it moan there? So we're going to do the actual JSON parsing. Now, it uses a do catch type of structure. And if you're familiar with Java, you have a try catch situation in that language. This is sort of the equivalent to that. Okay, oh, wait, why is that? What is this about? Oh, an equal sign. An equals symbol. Okay. Let's remove that. Let's move that out the way. Okay, now let's finish up the catch thing. Okay. Catch. Okay. Essentially, we do nothing here because the probability of an error happening is minimal since we're parsing one JSON currency file. But this is not what I would recommend. I would recommend that you do a lot of error checking and actually use the catch things that you, the catch, yeah, in your projects. Okay. Let's create a search bar. What we want from this search bar, first of all, we want it to be completely visible. That's what we really want. And we want it to update the search in real time. So the search results updater itself, we're going to implement that. Okay, pretty much what this code does is that the search will be updated in real time and the search bar will be visible. You don't have to scroll up or down before you see the search bar. So let's implement the search bar updater. So we're going to create a file in our table view, not a function, a method in our table view called filter content for search text. So essentially what it does is that it filters the content that the JSON data for the table view. That's what it does. It's a pretty straightforward and rudimentary function. Let's implement it right now. Method, function. I get confused with these things on Swift. Okay, let's implement it now. Filtered content for search. Filtered content for search. Filter content for search. So we're going to put in the search text, which will be a string, of course. And essentially we're going to put in the filtered currency results in an array that will be taken to put into the filtered currencies. It's really a lot more simple than it sounds. But essentially what we're returning in this situation is filtered currencies or okay, let me think about this. Okay, let's remove that. Something looked a bit odd. Essentially what we do is that we want to store the filtered currencies in the filtered currencies array and then reload the table data. So this happens whenever the user enters a piece of text. So let's remove all of that now. Let's remove the table stuff because I like to put in my own table stuff, my own table implementations. And for the purpose of this project, it would be nice to start things from scratch. So let's start by doing number of sections. Obviously, there's only one section in this table view, so we return 1. Okay, override. Number of rows in section. So folks, in this situation, we want to make sure that we return filtered data only in a situation where the search controller, that is the search bar, has input in it. So now this is the main implementation of the table, because this is where we input the table data from the JSON file. So let's look at what the currency cell is actually called. No typos, no errata. Trying to avoid that, because if we mistype anything, the application will crash because the table won't be able to locate the cell. So folks, fundamentally, this is what's happening. If you look up there at filtered content for search, you type in something, a filtered currency array is updated, and then the table is reloaded, right? And then afterwards, you take the filtered currencies data and reload it into the table. So it's pretty straightforward like that. Okay. So if you look at what just happened there in the if-else statement, essentially what's happening is that if you have a situation where the search bar is active, store the data, store the filtered currencies in the data. Else, store the generic data from the JSON file. And from there you get the symbols, the name data, the symbol data, and store them in variables. And then remember the subtitle stuff we did? We store this the currency name as the title and the currency symbol as a subtitle. Then we return the cell. It's just that simple, folks. And from there we're gonna implement a did select. So in the did select, obviously what we want to happen is for the user to select the cell and have the cell update the button in the origin view controller, which is why which is what we're doing right now. If you look at the VC currency button, that's the button from the origin view controller. And then we're gonna update its title. So essentially if the selected currency is US dollar, you're gonna have the name United States dollar and the currency symbol in a bracket. Okay, what's happening here? Override. So we're pretty much repeating what we've done in other tables as well. What I'm saying is in other table view implementations. And then what's important here is that if you think about it, when you search for something, you have two view controllers open at the same time. So you have to dismiss it twice for it to go back to the origin view controller. But if you have one view controller open, it's just going to dismiss it anyway, which is what we're doing right now. This is why we have two dismiss functions running at the same time. Okay? Yeah. Let's build it, and run it, and see what happens. Just a second. I'm running. Okay, there we go. Let's click. Select something, Australian dollar. Oh. It's an optional. So we need to go and unwrap something. Let's stop this and unwrap something. Okay, it's the text here. Okay, it should work now. Let's try to run it again. Okay, it's Compiling, building, doing stuff. Just a second, guys, it's coming. Attaching, just a second. Okay, here we go. Let's tap the button. Okay, and select something. Belarusian ruble, boom. There you go, everything is fine. The currency dash Belarusian ruble. Select something else. Oh, sorry. Let's search this time. South Korean won. There you go. Let me zoom in. Let me zoom in so that it's more, the text is legible. Okay. Let's search for something else. Let's search for the Canadian dollar. Okay. The Canadian dollar. There you go. Canadian dollar. The Canucks. Canucks are being represented there. United States dollar. There you go. So that's it, folks. Yeah, that's it for the table view, searchable table view, and take a look at our Spreeby app on the App Store, and subscribe if you liked the tutorial. Thanks, guys. Cheers.